right, some important information related to the use of horseshoes. The ordering of the letters around the horseshoe really matters. In other words, which letter appears on which side of the horseshoe is going to be really important. With other connectives like wedge, dot, and triple bar, the ordering of my sentences around the connectives isn't terribly important. That's because a statement like either it's snowing or the mail will be late means the same thing as either the mail will be late or it's snowing. And the statement it is snowing and the mail is late means the same thing as the mail is late and it's snowing. So the ordering of the letters with these other connectives isn't so important. But it's super important with regard to horseshoes, because this sentence, if it is snowing, then the mail will be late, does not mean the same thing as this statement. If the mail is late, then it is snowing. Okay? So when we represent these two statements, the ordering of the letters is going to be different. So we want to make sure that we're paying very careful attention to which letter appears on the left-hand side of the horseshoe and which letter appears on the right-hand side of the horseshoe. And you're asking, well, how the heck do I determine which goes where? And the answer is this, or one answer is this. If the sentence you're translating uses the word if or its equivalent, the sentence that immediately follows if should appear on the left-hand side of the horseshoe. You want to write this down. If the sentence you're working with includes the word if or its equivalent, like a phrase like given that or assuming that, whatever sentence follows that is going to appear on the left-hand side of the horseshoe. So take a look at these statements. If it is snowing, then the mail will be late. The mail will be late if it's snowing. Given that it's snowing, the mail will be late. Okay, so for all three of these sentences, I'm going to translate these as S, horseshoe, L. Because the rule is that whatever sentence follows if or its equivalent is going to appear on the left-hand side of the horseshoe. And that means the other statement that comprises the compound statement, in this case, the mail will be late, is going to go on the right-hand side of the horseshoe. But let's just say you're dealing with a statement that doesn't use the word if then or the phrase if then or its equivalent. Let's say that the sentence you're using or translating uses the phrase only if. Okay? The sentence that follows only if or its equivalent should be represented on the right-hand side of the horseshoe. Okay? So the statement that follows if appears on the left-hand side, but if the sentence doesn't include the word if, it has the phrase only if, then you put whatever follows only if on the right-hand side of the horseshoe. So if the statement we're working with is this, it is snowing only if the mail is late, or it is snowing implies that the mail will be late, we're going to represent that statement like this, S, horseshoe, L. All right, now some important things to maybe make note of, because I've been using this phrase, if it uses if then or its equivalent, or if it uses only if or its equivalent. What are the equivalents? Well, here are some of the most common ones, okay? So if you're translating a statement and it uses the word if, the sentence that follows that is going to appear on the left-hand side of your horseshoe. It's going to be right here. On the other hand, if the sentence you're translating has the phrase it is implied by in it, whatever follows that is going to appear on the left-hand side of the horseshoe. And then you can see some of these others, given that, provided that, assuming that. Here's a less common one, is a necessary condition for. If you see any of these words or phrases, whatever sentence follows that is going to be translated on the left-hand side of your horseshoe. And if, on the other hand, you see these kinds of phrases, only if, implies that, is a sufficient condition for, which is a little less common, whatever sentence follows that is going to appear on the right-hand side of your horseshoe. So these are your sort of cues to figure out how to translate statements using the horseshoe.